Mark's watched it. I've not. So for the listening experience, it may be as good as Rocky 2, but it won't be as good as Rocky 3. But we're going to run with this. So, Mark, over to you, sir.
No worries, kind sir. Basically, Battle of the Royal Albert Hall happened back in '91, back when the World Wrestling Federation was starting to kind of dip in its popularity, but in the UK was still mega popular. It's definitely very much of its time. You can tell it's very much of its time, like with the effects and everything. But also, it's one of those cool shows that being in the Royal Albert Hall, it has that very unique feel of it. Obviously, being there and being in the UK, and the crowd are like great and they cheer. Also, there's air horns. I was like, you can't miss the air horns. I love the air horns.
Yeah, that's a UK thing. Was
Yeah.
Vinnie Jones at this show?
Nah, man, nah. He would have been a footballer at the time. I think he played for Chelsea at this precise time. Actually, I can't remember now.
Things didn't get emotional.
Yep, and it was at the time where it was after SummerSlam, but before Survivor Series, and you had the thing of Ric Flair coming out as the real world champion. Which actually, talking of Ric Flair's match, is actually really interesting. I really want to get your reaction to it, but we'll talk about it. So basically, it was from the Royal Albert Hall. Lord Alfred Hayes does the voiceover to like announce, being like, "This is the Royal Albert Hall in partnership with, I think, the Daily Star or something at the time."
Page 3 of the Sun represent here. And now, World Wrestling Federation presents Royal Albert Hall, supported by 0800 Collect and Page 3 Jordan's Tits.
And you also have as well Sky Movies too, because Sky Movies used to present all the old wrestling things. I think Sky Movies also used to do the classic WrestleManias as well, like WrestleMania 7 and stuff, before they went to Sky Sports.
So
that was really funny.
What big films are out in 91 then?
You would have had Terminator 2, that's one.
Yeah.
Let me have a look.
So, could the Royal Albert Hall show be supported also by 0800 Collect, Jordan's Tits, and Terminator 2?
Point Break as well.
Point Break. Yeah.
Cape Fear, Silence of the Lambs, Addams Family, Beauty and the Beast.
Okay. This show was officially supported by Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
Right, for listeners, that's a fact. It's a 99% fact.
Did you actually know that, talking of Beauty and the Beast, it was the first ever animated film to be nominated for Best Picture Oscar?
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then because of that, they then had to bring in the animated Oscars, because so many other animated films were being nominated for Best Picture, so they thought, we'll just give it then its own category.
Didn't know that. Okay, well, Royal Albert Hall show, ladies and gentlemen, was supported by 0800 Collect, as everything in the World Wrestling Federation is.
Yes.
Jordan's Tits from Page 3, and showing in the cinema near you, Beauty and the Beast, Walt Disney classic.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, changing topic completely. What would you say are your favourite Disney films? Or your top 3?
Top 3 would be Aladdin. It would be The Lion King. And my third one would be Dumbo.
Oh, really? Mine are exactly the same as yours, but changed Dumbo for Hercules.
Hercules! Get emotional!
Hercules! Yeah. That's Haley's is such a great character.
Yeah.
But going back to the show, then you had the great shot of the iconic Royal Albert Hall with Greta Monsoon and Bobby Heenan talking about the show, and then they're also talking about the over-the-top battle royal, because at the end is the 20-man over-the-top battle royal for the Royal Samovar Trophy.
Brilliant. That can go right next to Braun's greatest Royal Rumble trophy.
Yes. And there's also one of those things, like, I have no idea who this person is. Apparently it's just something that they invented for the show, I think, at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds emotional.
Yes. And then you had
Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon, were they up in the stands, a bit like the Muppets, with them two old people that's like,
yes. With the shot of the crowd, they were like, yeah. And you can see the crowd. Yeah, it's so funny.
So it was a bit like watching the Muppet Show there, with the two old boys at the top that took the piss out of everything.
Yeah, the commentary was so good for the show as well, man. Really? So many references to, like, British stuff, and it's hilarious, but they're just great together anyway, those two.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. I will check out listeners, but yeah, I mean, this is yeah. This is a new experience for everyone. But yeah, okay. I've just got the thing is what you've seen as the show and I've got in my head are probably completely different things. But it's great. That's all I'm gonna say. It's great.
Definitely, man. And the first match that we had was the Nasty Boys versus the Rockers.
Bloody hell, the Rockers.
Yeah, this was right before Shawn Michaels turned heel, so this was end of '91.
Oh, okay. So Shawn Michaels is kind of on the up and up. Martin Jannetty hasn't admitted murdering anyone just yet, and the Nasty Boys are still in WWF.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, there's a big ovation for the Rockers. Marty Jannetty puts the Nasty Boys coat on to taunt them as faces do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of double clotheslines, a lot of tag team action. There's an amazing Brett's rope bulldog.
Uh-huh.
I wrote it down, but I can't remember who it is now. Oh, Marty Jannetty on knobs.
Brian.
My Jannetty with a Brett's rope bulldog to Brian Knobs.
Right on his knobs.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, out of 5, what would you give the match?
Probably a 3 maybe a 2.5 to a 3.
Oh,
okay. It was the Rockers made the Nasty Boys really good, but Sags is definitely the best out of the two of them, and the Nasty Boys won with a megaphone hit to on Jannetty, so for the 1, 2, and the 3.
Wait, okay, so good opening match.
Yep, and then you had Ric Flair doing a big promo and stuff, and the craziest thing about this, he wore and shown the big gold belt. This was before they stopped him wearing big gold.
Why did they stop him?
Basically it was an NWA thing and legality, even though he owned the championship, because they had to pay money for him to relinquish it, because you had to put some a thing on it. So basically, at the time, if you're the NWA champion, you had to put money down on it. So if you lost it, you then owe the NWA. But then because the NWA didn't want to pay him, or WCW didn't want to pay him, he was like, "Fuck you," then, and took the championship with him.
Fair enough.
That's why for a couple of years, WCW had the weird World or Universal or whatever championship they had.
Yeah.
Of Ric Flair and the big gold, and that's when they were able to sort it out. And then when Ric Flair went back, Ric Flair's back, big gold's back.
Perfect. So, was Mean Gene the one doing the interviews on Ric Flair?
Yes. Yeah.
Did Ric Flair say, "Mean, woo, by God, Gene"?
I think so, but I can't remember this point because I watched this point about several weeks ago.
Right. Okay.
I only actually finished watching the last 2 matches a couple of days ago. Okay. I've been so busy doing work and other stuff, to be honest.
You've done better than me then.
Yeah.
Okay. So he kills a promo, which I love. Ric Flair. No one does a promo like him.
And then he has a match against Tito Santana as well. Because before the match happens, they have on classic WWF Superstar shows and stuff, they have Mean Gene either backstage talking to wrestlers, or they have this weird podium thing around where the entranceway is, and I think this is what Ric Flair did at the time for his promo. And then yes, Tito Santana came out. Great submissions from Flair, great selling by Flair, some great in-ring action as well. Lot more good stuff with moves from Brett's rope, as it were.
Good old Brett's rope.
Yep. A lot of Flair arguing with fans, because obviously at the time Ric Flair was a heel and the fans were booing him and stuff. Did I tell you the story that I went to see wrestling when I was a kid, and I was saying to the fans, "Stop booing Ric Flair, he's a very nice man."
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a figure 4 leg lock by Ric Flair where he uses Brett's rope as to an advantage. Also at the time as well, Roddy Piper had a big feud Ric Flair as well.
Okay.
Santana with a slam to Flair from the top rope. Santana with a clothesline. Santana with a flying forearm, but Flair kicks out via the bottom rope. And then Ric Flair wins with a schoolboy and pull the tights for the 1, 2, and the 3.
Typical heel.
Yes.
Nice. Nice. Styling and profiling, none of the way Ric Flair can do.
Definitely, man. This one will probably be another 2.5, 3-star match.
Okay.
I mean, I'm looking at it for what it was at this time rather than looking at it now. Because if you look at it now, it probably would be the same first match, but maybe like a 1 or 2-star. Because the wrestling's evolved so much and it's become so different and stuff as well.
I mean, how did they announce Ric Flair? Did they call him the World Heavyweight Champion? Or
They called him the real World Champion.
Okay.
Because that's what he wanted to be known as and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite cool, isn't it? That they still allowed the gold belt on WWF TV. You know.
Yeah.
But did Vince ever make out that it was the real world championship, or did he always play it off to be the
it was more Ric Flair and Bobby Heenan were saying it's the real World Championship and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for a fan that didn't watch NWA, I mean, that's a big thing, isn't it? Like, they think, what the hell is this championship? And then you would finally, I mean, it's easier nowadays because we've got the internet and everyone's a smart and everyone can Google things. But if you was ever only just brought up in sort of like the New York East part of London of America, and all you ever watched was WWF, and then you got the people down south that was only watching NWA. You know, like if you was in New York, you couldn't watch the NWA because your TV provider wouldn't pick it up. So unless you read like dirt sheets or like the magazines, you had no idea what this World Heavyweight Championship was.
Nope.
I mean, I love that.
I mean, that's one of the great things about the territory days, because you would have a wrestler who might be so over in one territory and then be used in such a bad way that if he goes back to that original territory, it doesn't matter because he'll still be cheered.
Yeah, and you know what? There was always that kind of like, have you heard of this guy? And they're like, this guy called Ric Flair. I've heard the name. Why? Apparently he's coming to the WWF. You think, I've only like seen pictures of him, and you know what I mean? It was like you got excited, but now it's like, oh, have you ever heard of this guy called Ricochet? Tap tap tap. Oh, there's PWG. Oh, okay, I'll get it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it was always that. It's gonna be Kane, and you thought, who the hell is this? You had no idea, you know, and that's what I miss about territories
and also as well, a wrestler can go to another territory and play a different character completely as well.
Yeah.
Like Barry Darso was a tag team partner of Nikolai something. I can't remember his name. He played a Russian, but then he went to WWF and then became Smash, and then was also Repo Man.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then next we had was the Big Boss Man promo. He was backstage with Mean Gene, and then Earthquake had a promo where he was on the podium again.
Okay, now the Big Boss Man back in the night, so over. I remember watching the last match that Nick asked us to do a review on, and when the Big Boss Man came out, it took me by surprise how over he was.
Yeah, man, he was really over.
So I mean, was he over in this show?
Yeah, massively over, man. Yeah, really, really over. And also as well, he was one of those cool characters that when he turned, he was naturally loved. Because that's one of the cool things about them nowadays. To turn anyone face, just use the Million Dollar Man, and it's like he refuses to join him. It's like, you're a face now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, gone are the days of like heels and baby faces, and you know. But have you noticed? Apparently, SmackDown this week was TV 14.
Yeah.
Apparently,
they want to. Potentially, yeah. That's what they're talking about.
Oh, okay, that's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess Vince just wants to try whatever he can, really.
I mean, I've started listening back to the Attitude Era podcast on my journeys around driving about, you know, to the shops or whatever. They've just got their contract now with Spotify, so well done, Attitude Era Wrestling. It's taken long enough, even though they was like the UK's #1 sporting podcast for ages when they first started running. They've only just got on Spotify, so if you go on your Spotify and search them up, you'll find them. Highly recommend. Yeah, like WWF, like I'm at that point now in 2001 where you had the XFL and like WrestleMania 17, and wrestling was on such a high boom at that point, you know.
Definitely, man.
14, so maybe they're going back.
What we need to do is in 2001, 2021, sorry, we have to do a review on Royal Rumble, No Way Out, and WrestleMania 17, just to as it's 20 years on, as like a special 20 years on thing.
Yeah.
And talking podcast, OSW Review have recently released their review of Survivor Series 94 because they're going back through the new generation now. So they've gone through the Lex Express and they're now going up to WrestleMania 11.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
A few months ago, they reviewed SummerSlam 94, Taker versus Taker and stuff, and it's just like, such good stuff, man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to be fair, they're both big influences on our podcast. I mean, like, I love Attitude Era podcast. I'm a big mark for them. OSW, you love them, old school wrestlers. I love them all. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and it depends what mood I'm in. Like, I like to think our podcast is like perfect for the casual fan.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of a mark, watches a little bit of everything, but we do kind of like do reviews and requests, which we love. And there's days where I want to keep up with the content, but I can't be bothered, and that's when I'd listen to someone like Talk Is Jericho, or if Steve Austin's actually doing a show rather than repeat, I might listen to him. But I like to think of our podcast as a community, and we're just wrestling and games and geeky stuff, pop culture. But yeah, OSW, man, check them out. An AE podcast, check them out, and also
definitely, man. Because a podcast actually started because of OSW Review as well.
Exactly.
OSW did a Q&A several years ago, and someone mentioned it. I was like, they're good friends. The guy said we started because of you, and they were like really flattered. So
yeah, and I mean, Matthew's done stuff with AE podcast.
He's also done stuff with OSW Review as well. Like, he reviews a lot of the modern pay-per-views. There was this joke going around at OOC, and Matthew didn't like each other. But then when they finally met, they were like, obviously taking the piss out of each other and just being mates, as what you do.
Yeah, but work in the trail, brother.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah. OOC has an amazing voice, man. Yeah. If we listen to his voice, and it's just like, I love it. Yeah. So does Jay and so does V1. They all do. So yeah, and then that's what my What Bar shirt's from, is that. So have you got any a podcast shirts at all, boss? Like, you might get like a Glargay one or one of their like other ones.
I like the Glargay. I mean, I will buy it, Glargay. But again, you need to listen to the podcast, because one of the guys, I forgot which guy it is, does a grunt of the week. And when Jeff Jarrett was there, every time he put the sleeve fold on, he would shout. It sounded like Glargay, and it has you in absolute stitches.
Oh yeah, if you would have been absolute stitches when they review Lex Luger matches, they do what he does, and they are like, Lex Luger with a punch, Lex Luger taking a man, and they just do. I don't do it justice, but they like recite and.
Yeah,
like as you said with the grunts, they do it for Lex Luger matches, and it's when you watch these matches now, I'm like, I know so much more now. When you're a kid, when you're a bit older, when you realise like, oh my god, this man grunts and makes noises to even a small punch.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny.
Yeah, the thing is, I've always been quite a Lex Luger fan. I loved
as well, actually. I loved him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I loved him in WCW because I felt like that was more of his style of wrestling. I think the WWF was too cartoony for him. I think as a nitty-gritty Wolfpack member, he didn't get lost in the pack, but he looked good as a Wolfpack guy. So I look at NWO Wolfpack. Oh man, we really do go off stream, don't we? I look at the Wolfpack as like the elite. So it's a bit like Bullet Club, and then you had Wolfpack. Like, do you know what I mean? So you had the Bullet Club elite, and then you had Bullet Club. And I just kind of see like NWO Hollywood, and then you had NWO Wolfpack, and the NWO Wolfpack was kind of like the little, I don't know, like not the better guys by far, but just kind of like that separate team that done their own thing. And I think Lex Luger was a good advocate for that.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, I mean, I thought his in-ring work was actually quite good. I mean, I watched him versus. I was on YouTube, so I was actually creating NWO Wolfpack Lex Luger for my 2K game. I was just like giving him the shirt, and I was looking at his attire on videos on YouTube, and I ended up watching the whole match. It was him versus Rey Mysterio, and he puts Rey Mysterio in the torture rack, and he won't let him out. And Conan comes down, and then that's when they kicked Hodan out of the Wolfpack, or the NWO Elite at the time. Yeah, and I actually enjoyed his work. I didn't think Lex Luger was a bad worker at all. I thought he was quite good. In my opinion, I liked him. I thought he looked good as a wrestler.
Yeah, man, he was massively big, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the people for the WWF as well, with Gary Striver.
Oh, look at the delts. Look at the delts.
Look at that meat. Look at the beef.
Yeah. Sponsored by Ico Pro. Tasting like shit since 1975.
Yeah, basically, go back to the match. There was a big ovation for the Boss Man when he came out, and Earthquake refused to get into the ring, and he would then shout at Boss Man as heels do. But then he was, because Boss Man was still using the nightstick, like flicking it around and stuff, and then Earthquake was like, I'm not going to get it, I'm not getting it with you or that weapon.
Last time I got in that ring with you, Boss Man, you stuck that thing so far up my ass. That's why he didn't get in the ring. He was scared.
Yeah, I know.
He was going to give him the sidewalk bum buster with that.
Yeah, and then when he threw it on the ground, he then taunted him with like the just bring it thing, and then Earthquake finally got in the ring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He threw my jelly.
Yeah, and you obviously have Jimmy Hart, like in the first match, outside the ring, taunting Boss Man and stuff.
Oh, man, that guy got some TV time, didn't he? Jimmy Hart.
He did, man, yeah. Same with Bobby Heenan as well. When he was being a manager before, he then became an announcer. He was like literally every single match. I think if you watch WrestleMania 5, pretty much nearly every single match, you either had Bobby Heenan or Jimmy Hart on the card.
Yeah. Yeah, gone are the day of the managers.
Yep. Oh, this is a great moment. So you have Earthquake overpowering the Big Boss Man, in like that tug of war thing where they're like elbow tie up kind of thing, and you see him giving the gun show.
Yeah. What,
Which is perfect because it's Earthquake, and he isn't a guy which I love because it's a proper heel hit. It's like, yeah, look at the guns. It's brilliant. I love it.
And it's a bit like Vader, like when he used to give it the old double biceps, right? And it looked like Play-Doh. Because there was no definition. It's like, look at my arm. And it looked like a kebab.
Yes.
Before they cut it. Yeah.
Yeah. You've also got a really cool move with Boss Man with a double axe handle from the bottom rope. And then again from Brett's rope. So he does different stuff. Earthquake reverses Boss Man's Irish whip and hits him with a splash. Like, Stinger splash.
Yeah.
Bossman with an enziguri, which is crazy.
Shades of X-Pac, yeah.
Yeah, but then again, at this time, he was quite nimble, because even when he was in Crockett Promotions as Jim Cornette's bodyguard before he went to the World Wrestling Federation, he was quite a nimble big man at the time as well.
Yeah, Leon was a good wrestler, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. And then Bossman grabs Jimmy Hart, and then Earthquake goes to splash Bossman, but he moves, and then Earthquake then splashes into Jimmy Hart, which is like a great face action sort of thing, out smiling the heel, as it were.
Yeah.
Bossman then hits Earthquake with multiple clotheslines. Then he goes into the ropes, and then Mountie goes through ringside, because this is the time when they were still feuding, even though Bossman beat him, which then Mountie was in jail for that night from SummerSlam 91. And then Bossman goes to run across the ropes, but then Mountie chips him up from the outside. And then Earthquake gets free from the ropes. And then with an elbow drop, he wins. And then after Bossman gets up, he then chases after the Mountie.
Okay, so very classic 80s stuff. The thing is, though, what you've explained to me there, it sounds like they used psychology and told a story. So that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Solid match. What would you give it?
3 stars. I mean, I kind of, rather than mentioning every single note I've taken, I've literally kind of like taken the main bits I feel might be the most interesting. So as you can tell, for this show alone, I've done about 7 pages.
Yeah.
And then after the match, you had a shot of the Royal Samovar Trophy. And you have Gene Oaken putting over the Battle Royale for later on in the show, because after these matches, then you have the big Battle Royale.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then you have Kerry Von Erich come out and give a promo.
Kevin Von Erich?
Yeah.
The Kevin, not Kerry, it was Kevin.
Oh, Kerry Von
Oh,
Erich.
Kerry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Kerry.
Texas
Yeah.
Tornado. Yeah.
Yes. And
Okay.
then Mountie. What's that? Sorry.
That's cool. I like the Von Erichs, and obviously at the time they were massive, massive, massive wrestlers in the NWA. If you watch Wrestling with Shadows, I think it's called, is it? No, Dark Side of the Ring. There's a really interesting episode about the Von Erichs. So if you want to do a bit of wrestling, learn about the Von Erichs, which I would definitely do. They're one of the biggest names in pro wrestling as a wrestling family. Very, very tragic. And
Yeah,
Kerry,
massively.
it was known as the Texas Tornado in the World Wrestling Federation. Why they didn't call him Kerry Von Erich, I don't know. He was so over with his dad and family, but to all the fans out there and the listeners, Dark Side of the Ring, I think it's one of the season 1 episodes, the Von Erichs.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the second episode they did actually,
May have been,
or
yeah.
the third. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know the first one was the Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth one, but then I think it was either second or third episode. But yeah, all the stuff like Dinner Brother episode, well, that was really sad.
That was really,
But
yeah.
yeah.
Interesting though. But yeah, sorry, as you were, mate. Yeah.
And then the Mountie had a promo as well when he came out too, because then he had the next match was between the Mountie versus Kerry Von Erich.
And how did that go?
Great reaction for Kerry. There was massive air horns playing throughout the match. The Mountie taunts and he gets booed, obviously being the heel. That's one of the great things I love as well about this day of wrestling is the taunting and getting the crowd rolled up and booing you and stuff. Mountie looks to leave the arena as heels do, but then Mountie comes back into the ring. Then Mountie goes back out the ring, and then Mountie comes back in, and then he gets ambushed by Kerry Von Erich when he's going in and out. Mountie then puts Kerry into a sleeper. Kerry tries to power out on the move, but he gets stopped by the Mountie. And then Kerry with a sleeper of his own, where Mountie gets to the ropes. Kerry ran elbow first into the post. When the Mountie dodged it and stuff.
Yeah. There's your opening for the heel.
Yep. Then Kerry's punch to the outside, where the Mountie slams Kerry into the steel steps. And then Kerry, the Texas Tornado, slams the Mountie into the steps. Okay. Then the Mountie goes for the hand, where with Kerry staying the hand, because obviously he's been attacked with the hand throughout the match. Yeah. Then you have Kerry with a clothesline, Mountie with the leverage from the top rope for the 1-2 and the 3.
Okay, so again, sounds like those working a body part, solid match, storytelling.
Yes, and then because the referee realised what happened, he reverses the decision, and then the Mountie leaves, and then Kerry Von Erich won the match and poses in the ring.
Perfect.
So, proper stuff. And then next we had...
review for that, how many stars?
Maybe a 2-2er, from what I remember.
Maybe a 2, okay.
Next we had is a bit of the funeral parlour with Undertaker and Paul Bearer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that before on YouTube. Yeah.
And then one of the coolest moments is because you're gonna have a match between Undertaker versus Jim Duggan. The Undertaker's theme is played by an organist who looks like Phantom of the Opera, and he's like playing his actual theme tune for the organ, and it's so cool.
Okay, I'll check that out, man. That sounds actually like quite a okay pay-per-view for what it was at the time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, you've got it's really cool. Like, even though Undertaker's entrances weren't as elaborate as they are nowadays, it's cool that they were adding more to the entrance, even here in '91.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, then Duggan comes out, and then they have the beginning of the match. Both of them training rights. Duggan clotheslines Undertaker out of the ring. Then Undertaker tries to get back into the ring, but is stopped by Duggan. Undertaker chokes Duggan. And then uses the old school afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Which at the time was just called school.
Yes. Undertaker with another choke. Then you have Duggan with an atomic drop. Sorry. And then, but Undertaker, it doesn't affect him because at the time Undertaker didn't let any move affect him.
Right.
Undertaker with a running clothesline after he Pearl Harbors Duggan because Duggan was trying to go after Paul Bearer. because Paul Bearer was taunting when Undertaker was still a heel.
Yeah.
And then Duggan hit Undertaker with a 2x4 and that's DQ'd. And then Duggan hits Undertaker again with a 2x4 to get him out of the ring. So at the time, Duggan doing what he always does, doesn't put anyone over, doesn't lose, gets DQ'd. So, because apparently Duggan's yeah.
Got some interesting facts about The Undertaker.
What's that?
Debut, November 22nd, 1990 at Survivor Series. WrestleMania record, 25-2. World Champion, WWE Champion, 4 times. World Champion, 3 times. 1-time Royal Rumble winner, 6 times Tag Team Champion, 1-time WCW Champion, which I don't know if that still classes as World Champion, and he's a one-time
Tag Team Champion.
Yeah. So yeah, it just came up as we were talking about Undertaker. But this is the official WWE record, and they're saying World Champion 3 times, WCW Champion 1 time. Obviously, I'm assuming this is in the Invasion era, but surely the World Championship is the WCW Championship.
No, what I think was a typo. What they mean is Tag Team Champion.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they did. Because I remember they went up against Sean O'Hare and Chuck Palumbo. Chuck Palumbo, didn't they? In a cage.
Man, it's only 7 times. I swear it was more than that.
What's that?
He was World Champion.
It says WWE Champion 4 times, World Champion 3 times. So 4 for WWE, 3 for World, and yeah, that's what it's saying.
That's crazy, man. It feels like we had more, because he had 91, 97, 99, 2002, and then 2007, 2008, and 2009. Yeah. Bloody hell.
Oh, did you see Pete was at the Thunderdome?
Who was he? Oh yeah, I saw that. That's really funny.
Oh, anyway.
And then you had Roddy Piper with a promo, and then you had Typhoon with a promo, then you had a Power and Glory promo, then you had an LOD promo, then you had Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon talking about everything. But my God, were these shouty promos.
Do you know what? I wish that Roddy Piper had a super strong Scottish accent, and when he got on the microphone, I wish he sounded like Willie off The Simpsons.
Yes, oh my God, that would have been great.
And I wish you couldn't actually understand it. I know it's very. So, is it racist or just being stereotypical? But I just think it would have been amazingly funny at the time. They would have done it, especially in the Attitude Era. But imagine if, they gave him Vince McMahon saying, "Okay, you're from Scotland. I don't want to understand anything you say." And Roddy's like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah." And just give it pure and utter Willie off the.
Oh, Scrooge McDuck sound like him as well.
Yeah, because he was Scottish. Yeah.
Sorry, the cool thing about the Power and Glory and the LOD promos, they were building up the match tonight between the 2 tag teams for the WWF Tag Team Championship. And do you know who Power and Glory were?
No.
They were Hercules and Paul Roma.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they had an amazing finisher as well, one of the best. They would do a top rope superplex into a splash.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because they had a match at SummerSlam 90 against the Rockers, and they won with that move.
Yeah, and I think the Filthy Animals used to have that, Conan and Rey Mysterio in WCW. I think they used a variation of that. Yeah, I like that. Yep,
and then with the match, LOD came out to a massive ovation as they did at the time.
Always did in the UK, yeah.
Yeah. There's a test of strength between Hercules and Roma, but then Roma ambushes Hawk. Hawk with a drop kick, which is crazy seeing him do anything like that. And then you have Hawk chases after Roma and gets ambushed by Hercules. Animal and Hawk get tagged, and then Animal gets tagged in from Hawk. And then they run into each other several times, like trying to throw the other wrestlers into each other, like as they do in tag team spots. Animal with a clothesline on Hercules. And then you have Hawk gets tagged in. He reverses a head shove to the top turnbuckle. Goes to give 10 head shoves to Hercules.
Oh, it's so gimmicky.
Yeah, then you have Hercules, then tags in Roma. Later on in my notes, I then put, because you then have another match between two wrestlers who both begin with the same bloody letter, then put the end. I should have done it for this match because I'm like, who did this? I'm trying to remember it all.
See, we do run a professional podcast here, people.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you have Power and Glory, then double team Hawk, and then Hawk then gets given sells a massive power driver. And then you have Hawk with a press slam, and then you have Hawk with a clothesline, and then but you have Hawk when he hits the clothesline, Roma moves out the way, and then when you have Hawk land outside, then you have Hawk with the hot tag to Animal. Then you have Animal hit a shoulder block into a drop kick and then into a power bomb. And then you have Roma hitting this, try to hit Animal with a high cross body, but then you have Animal reverse it into a power slam for the 1, 2, and the 3.
You know, it makes you laugh, doesn't it? Like a power slam or like in the earthquake match. Like just a simple spot like that would be enough.
Yeah.
You know.
Because this is what Animal used to do quite often. Because if they weren't able to do a Doomsday device, they would then have Animal catch his opponent doing like that into a power slam.
Yeah, I like that though.
Yeah, definitely, man. And then you had the Bulldog promo.
Okay, but that went down quite well.
Yeah, it was backstage of Mean Gene talking about the Battle Royal later on, the Royal Samovar Trophy.
Yeah.
And then you had Lord Alfred Hayes announces the next match. So you had the Barbarian versus the British Bulldog.
Obviously, you know what's going to happen here. There's going to be a massive beatdown by the Barbarian, and then Bulldog comes back with probably 3 moves of doom and wins.
Pretty much that.
Yeah, so, yeah. Strong finish, yeah. Yeah,
definitely. And the cool thing is the Bulldog hits the running power slam, which was his finishing move.
Yeah.
2 big forces. What was that, sorry?
Obviously, the Bulldog would have been so over at this point.
He was massively over.
Yeah, the Bulldog was huge. Any mention of Dynamite Kid or?
No, just Bulldog, because when he came back in 1990, he was just known as Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, and they mentioned at all of Dynamite Kid because he left the WWF on very bad terms.
I know, it's a shame, and he influenced so many good wrestlers as well.
No, he did, man. He influenced so many different people, but he was a massive dickhead, and no one liked him. So yeah, I mean, and one of the reasons why they left in the end is because of his big feud with the Rougeau brothers. But then Bulldog was like, I'm not a part of that, and then came back.
Yeah.
Because I think they went to New Japan and for a while as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I remember seeing them work in Japan. That suited his style as well, anyway, didn't it? Like.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
He worked so well over there. So did Hulk Hogan. He worked fantastic over in Japan.
Yeah, but one of the things that Hulk Hogan was clever about, he knew what to do and what not to do for that specific place. In Japan, he knew I had to put on a show, I had to do these different moves. In America, he knew that all he needed was a few moves of doom, his amazing charisma and selling and his personality, and he knew that he would get over that way as well. Save as well his career as well. I know technically due to the leg drop, he had to have this and this, but made him wrestle for a lot more longer. I mean, look at Taker. He was someone at this time very slow and very methodical, even though he knew he could do his different stuff, but he was able to still put on and do and execute these amazing big moves. But look how long he wrestled for.
Look how many times you hear Undertaker or Austin or Rock or Triple H say less is more.
Yeah.
It makes
pretty much,
sense.
man. Yeah. And the good thing about this match as well, this was very much less was more, but they made Davey Boy into such a popular babyface and such a great babyface. He was able to sell everything. He was able to overpower the Barbarian at certain points, but then he was also able to sell to the Barbarian. There was a cool moment where you had the Barbarian giving the Bulldog like a slam, but rather than slamming him into the ground because they were outside, he was slamming him into the ring post.
Yeah.
And he had the 10 punches of doom as well by the Bulldog to the Barbarian as well. Mm-hmm. And then, Bulldog won.
Fair play. So what was that, semi-main?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And then I'll probably give that match a 3 stars from the
Okay.
show. And then you had a Nasty Boys promo afterwards, them shouty as they always do.
Crap promos. Yeah.
And then yeah, man. And then you had the match for the Royal Samovar Trophy, the Battle Royale, which had all the wrestlers who wrestled before, as well as Typhoon and Roddy Piper.
They were the only 2 extras.
Yeah, there are only 2 extras.
Okay, so everyone tonight is doing a double shift.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
And they all came out and stuff and went into the ring.
What you've told me then, so you're missing Hogan.
Yep.
Hogan's not there. Savage ain't there.
Nope.
Who else was big? Yoko weren't there.
No, this was before Yoko. But also as well, this would have been this would have been the B team, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Even though, because at the time in the WWF they used to have like 2 different sets of teams, but I think also Hogan at this time was doing a film, so he couldn't fly over. But then he was back for Survivor Series and stuff. I think this was at the time he might have been filming either Suburban Commando or getting ready to film Mr. Nanny.
God's sake. Yeah.
But I mean, from all these different people, you had I know you didn't have the mega stars, but you had some pretty big people in it though. With the Bulldog being there, they didn't need anyone else because you had the guy, didn't you?
Yeah,
he's
the
UK guy.
Hometown hero. Yeah.
I mean, SummerSlam '92 was built when they put it into Wembley around the Bulldog, so.
Yeah, that was his greatest ever accomplishment, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then basically for the Battle Royale, what I've done I've mentioned who gets eliminated because I can't, otherwise it would take too long to write all the notes. So I've written down who gets eliminated in what order as well.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so you have Hercules getting eliminated first. Mm-hmm. Then you had the Texas Tornado. Then you had Brian Knobbs. Then you had Marty Jannetty. Then you had the Barbarian. Then there was Tito Santana. Then Hawks. Then Sags. Then Shawn Michaels actually lasted quite a long time in the match. And then you had Jim Duggan. Then you had Earthquake. Then you had Roddy Piper. And then you had Ric Flair getting eliminated by Roddy Piper because this was building up their feud and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, no, sorry. Roddy Piper got eliminated later on by Ric Flair. Then you had Paul Roma. Then you had Animal. Then you had The Undertaker. Then you had Big Boss Man. The Mountain was eliminated by Typhoon. Then you had the Bulldog wins.
Obviously.
Yes.
And what would you give the Battle Royale?
Probably a 3 for what it is, Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think one of the main things I don't really like about Battle Royales, unlike a Royal Rumble, is one is there's too many people in the ring at once, so it's kind of like who you're watching, and 2, it kind of defeats the object of a Battle Royale because you have these wrestlers waiting for the next one to come out, and they're not wrestling each other already. Where I feel like we at least with a Royal Rumble, they come out at certain times, so it kind of gives that illusion still of kayfabe, where it's kind of like, but why isn't the Nasty Boys and the Rockers attacking the Nasty Boys because the Nasty Boys cheated to win, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. So it leaves a lot of open. I mean, back in the day, people weren't really smart to the business, were they? So they probably weren't.
No.
Really, but yeah, okay. So would you recommend going back and watching this show, or would you say?
I would, yes, I would for sure. For it's just 1 because it's being in the UK, and 2 just for the commentary alone. Like the commentary alone is just great. Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon had such great chemistry. Yeah. But what I forgot to mention is the natural disasters attack the Bulldog, and then Andre the Giant comes out to save Bulldog, and then Andre the Giant and the Bulldog celebrate to go, and then this show goes off the air.
Yeah. I mean, Andre the Giant was like the biggest draw in the company at the time, wasn't he? So that's quite cool. I like that.
Yeah, this was at the time right before he sadly passed away, and he had like some surgery recently, and you can see him walking up, but it's just cool to have him there, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, okay, cool. I will check it out.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
For what it is, it's good fun. The crowd are great, as they usually are, being in the UK, because they don't really get that much. Davey Boy, Roddy Piper, and the Big Boss Man are really popular. It's cool to see the Undertaker being given an entrance to do with the Royal Battle Hall, obviously being an old building.
Yeah.
Crowd is quite cool. The only thing that was missing was having people like Hogan and Savage, but for who you got to see, it's still pretty cool as well. So,
Yeah.
I would recommend the show. Like I wouldn't recommend the show for the in-ring action, but if you want to watch a show of what it's like, the commentary and what the in-ring action was for the time, then I would recommend the show.
Cool. Okay, sweet.
And also getting to see the big gold belt as well on WFTV before
Yeah.
he then used the tag team championship where they blurred it out. So
What on the belt? I don't suppose you'll be able to see it, but does it say World Championship Wrestling or New National Wrestling Alliance or anything?
can't really see it. It just says wrestling world heavyweight champion. Like, yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out.